Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the channel. My name is Rudy, and if you are just joining us now for this first video upload, you are officially one of the pioneers for this channel. I'm gonna play a game that I've been dying to get my hands on for quite some time now, Manor Lords. So welcome, let's jump into it. Alright, so I'm going with this bald guy. I feel a bit bald today. His name is civic. Let's leave it as is. For our coat of arms, I'm gonna go with a plain one, and then maybe look at this pattern. Just want to change my colors around a bit. Let's do black, and let's do red. I kinda do like that. Now for the logo or insignia on our coat of arms, I want to go for something like this, a bit of a crusader cross going there. Let's make it a bit smaller. Yeah, I like it like that. What do you think? Would this terrify you if you were an enemy clan? I've got some exciting stuff coming up right now. Let's go. So for our scenario, I'm thinking of a duel, and I'm also thinking of High Peaks. If I'm not mistaken, High Peaks is one of the new maps that were just recently added, and I absolutely love it. I want to put my opponent on the far side. Let's put him down here, and I will be going all the way up there. And then maybe we can meet each other somewhere in the middle for an epic clash. So, scenario is duel, and end goal is domination. Eliminate all the other lords by claiming their territory. One AI opponent is fine for now. I also want to be focusing on the economy and the building part a bit, so I don't want to be worrying about 3 different players to take care of. The off-map adversary, no adversary. I'm not really in the mood for the Baron right now, and I think all the other settings will be fine. The raider frequency is medium. We do need some raiders, as those raider camps will generate an income for us if we are able to get rid of the raiders, and then all the other stuff seems fine to me. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, quite exciting indeed. Let's start. So, welcome to our little town of Altbrook. We immediately have a new message. Let's see. Victory condition is dominance. Build up your town, your manor, and when ready, press claims towards regions owned by your opponents. Once a claim has been pressed, be ready for battle. I'll definitely unite these lands under my rule. Alright, so there we see our settlers with their little tents ready to start conquering this land. First things first, let's zoom out and see what we have to work with. Okay, so it seems like we have 2 rich food deposits or resources, wild animals, and also berries. Food is obviously very important, so we will be making use of that. We also have a smaller iron deposit and a clay deposit, so there's some other resources that we have to our advantage. Not really a lot, but we'll make do with what we've got. So first things first, and this is what we always do first in Manor Lords, is get some timber coming in so that we can build. Unfortunately, I won't be able to chop down all these trees right next to my food resources, so we'll have to go over the bridge to this side and build our first logging camp right over here. Logistics is always a problem, so you don't want to be traveling too far. For that reason, I want to build it as close to the main part of town. This is where our accommodation and also our markets will be. So we'll put it in right over there. We'll get rid of a bit of trees in the process, but not to worry. I think we will manage. So as you can see, our settlers are moving out to start the building process. Let's speed it up a bit. Right, so while these guys get going on this construction, there's another important thing that I always want to look at the beginning of each game or match, and that'll be fertility. Now, I can already tell you, seeing that we have 2 rich deposits in our region, the fertility won't be great. The theory behind it being that if you have 1 rich deposit, your other rich deposit will be your fertile soil. So if we look at this Emma, you'll see that there's not really a lot of place to grow any wheat. Flax and barley will be the same. Now rye tends to be a bit more forgiving, as you'll see there. We have a bit of space there that's green, and maybe we can think about building some farmland over there. Otherwise, over here is also a very good option. That might even be better, despite the distance to travel being a bit longer. At least we won't be interfering with our rich berry resource over here, and we might be a bit tight to fit in here. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. Farming will happen in that area right over there. So let's see, are they getting along? And just like that, construction on our logging camp is finished. We'll assign 1 family to immediately start chopping down some trees. Okay, let's see what we need to build next. So, important to note, once you start out, you do have some supplies and some food out here in the weather, in the sun, in the rain. So it is also quite important to immediately get storage for those supplies. And we will start by building ourselves a little granary. Maybe I should keep this close to the main road, to the King's Road, seeing that resources will be flowing in from all over. Yeah, we'll build our granary right there. And then the next thing we definitely need to focus on is getting some food to flow into our little village. And therefore we are gonna build a forager hut right over here, close to the berries. Okay, so that'll give our settlers some tasks to complete. We also have stone right here. We'll get rid of that in no time, but I'm not going to be focusing on that right at this moment. I think what we need to do is add some roads. So we'll add a nice little road here, just hugging that tree line. I'm thinking, seeing that we are not planning on really cutting down any of these trees, that I might make this road a little wraparound that goes around our settlement. So that's basically our little back road. Then all the way down here. Perfect. So these people are chugging along. This granary will be done in no time. There we go, construction finished. I made a huge mistake. This is also a forager hut, not a granary. So it won't do us any good right over there, as we are building the same thing right there. So we'll leave that one, seeing that they've already started transporting the timber. But this one we will definitely have to demolish. Well, we're not off to a very good start, seeing that we just wasted a bunch of time. But no matter, we'll get that granary built anyway. There we go, that'll be the granary. And we have 3 timber left at the moment, so we can also build a storehouse. And maybe they can just move that piece of timber up to the granary or the storehouse. So at least the logistics won't be a huge issue. So guys, I know that the camera movements might be a bit fast. We'll definitely adjust those settings as we get deeper into this series. For now, for this episode, just bear with me. I don't want to go tweaking around any settings at this stage. Forager hut completed. We'll definitely assign someone as quickly as possible so that they can start gathering these berries. Also, seeing that we do have 2 timber, I'll immediately get started on building us a hunting camp. Let's just see where it's located. Hunting camp, we'll do that right over here. Just a little bit off the main road there. And then we can just connect it with a nice little road. So once they get that done, we'll have 2 food incomes, berries, and our wild animals or deer over there. We'll also have storage for our supplies lying out in the weather and our food. So let's immediately assign a family to the storehouse so that they can start moving some of these supplies. Let's see what Fritz is up to. So as you can see, the workers from the storehouse just going to our starting supplies to make sure we get everything stored safely and securely in our new storage hut, storehouse. Okay, interesting. I see that they much prefer traveling on the road even though it's further. So maybe we should build them a nice little road that cuts straight through town. Right there. Alright, so now that we have the basic gathering or resource gathering structures going, I think it's important that we start focusing on some living quarters. So we'll start right over here with 4. It will require 8 planks, and that is exactly what you've got in stock, so we'll start with that. You can also see that I've given them quite the backyard. That'll be obviously for some other activities like raising chickens or vegetable gardens. All of those another source of food. Very, very important. If we look at the top here, we can see that the approval is critically low, and the reason for that being homelessness. So we'll get that sorted out pretty quickly. Let's see what our storehouse people are doing. They are waiting, so we can remove this family from the storehouse and get them into the granary, and that'll cause them to start gathering all the food that is outside. Seeing that we have a lot to build, I'm leaving 2 families on construction, unassigned families. They will then become your builders, and they can just truck along with these burgage plots so that we can get the homelessness down. Exposed goods here are vulnerable to the weather and may spoil easily. They need to be moved to a granary. So luckily we're on that. Let's see what we have left. Only 2 pieces of bread, so that'll go quite quickly. burgage plots going up one by one. Alright, so the logging camp's also coming along nicely. Only 2 members in this family currently, but once we get these burgage plots constructed, another family member will join. There you see, family member joined one of the settlers, burgage plot level 1. So that means we've now got a family with 3 members. And that is the logging camp family. So there's another member in the family now that'll just help speed up the timber process.
Hey, where are the pegs? Oh, there they are.
Now that all the food has been moved to the granary, well, I was thinking of removing this family, but for now, but as you can see, they've already gone to the forager hut to pick up some of these berries that were collected by them. So let's leave that family on the granary. I think they have quite an important job. Now that we have more timber, we can also start or continue with the construction of our burgage plots. So let's add, I believe this will be 2 more, well 3 more, why not? After that we'll have some room for additional settlers to move to our village of Altbruck.
Time to find a good tree. Soft.
So right over here you will see the food and fuel supply that is currently available in our village. You'll see the food will currently last us around 8 months and the fuel supply 9 months. So fuel supply currently is firewood. We do not have a firewood lodge. I think that's what they call it. Let's just check it out quickly. A woodcutter's lodge. So we do not have a woodcutter's lodge at this stage, but our fuel is still going to last us quite a while, so that's not too important, because we also do not have a family that we can assign to that lodge at the moment. And the rain is starting to come down. These people better hurry up with these buildings, otherwise everyone will be sick. Another family member joins one of the settlers. That's good. Some loose hands to help us with the labor.
Can I stay where there's drink?
I think what I also want to do is move this hitching post right here to the center of the industrial or timber area and where our burgage plots are located. That'll just help to get the logistics flowing a bit better. You'll also notice that as the burgage plots come up, the fuel supply starts to get lowered drastically. So that'll definitely be one of our top priorities sooner rather than later, is to get some people cutting firewood for us.
Can I stay where there's drink?
Let's speed it up a bit more.
This is heavier than it looks.
Okay, so we've got some timber to spare. I think I'll just start setting up the woodcutter's lodge right over here. And then also, very important, would be a saw pit, and that we'll place right next to the logging camp. A saw pit will be producing planks, And we'll definitely require those planks if we want to build anything upcoming. Okay, great. Settlement level reached. New message. A strong militia is paramount to the survival of any settlement. Luckily, a shipment of weapons has just arrived and you will now be able to create your first militia banners to serve you and protect your people. However, we will need more weapons to equip all the people as the settlement grows, either by making them or importing them from other lands. Let's form the militia. Okay, so to do that, it's quite simple. At the bottom here, to your taskbar, you go to Army, hit the add new units or create new units plus sign, and then you'll see we currently have 20 spears and 20 large shields available. So we'll be able to form a spear militia. That's all we can do with the current supplies that we have. So let's go ahead and do that. And you'll see that we have 10 spear units formed, spear militia units formed. Even though we do have 20 spears and 20 shields in total, unfortunately there's just not enough men available to form a bigger militia. But as the people move into our village and more men of fighting age comes and join us, our militia will automatically grow up until 20, and then we'll have to find more weapons, more spears in order for us to grow that any further. But we'll get to that in a later episode. For now, let's just focus on getting things up and running. And we'll go ahead and just speed it up a bit. So our little village is coming along good. You can already see that it's taking some time to build these burgage plots because the people bringing the timber have to travel all the way from that side of the river to this side of the river. So that's the only thing about having two different areas. Luckily it's not that far apart, it's still manageable, but unfortunately it does take some time. We also now have space available for one additional family to move in. So I think what we can do now is assign someone to this hunting camp so that we can get some of this wildlife out before winter comes. What we'll also do is go into the advanced tab and make sure that we only ever hunt out half of this herd. That is currently set. Wild animals per herd reserve 12. So no, they'll never go below that number. If the herd goes down to 12, they'll stop hunting and then they'll only resume if the herd picks up again. That's exactly what we want, because otherwise if they hunt out all the animals, they'll take a long time to come back. Okay, let's take a look at this last burgage plot going up, and you'll see it is basically done. So now we have space available for 2 additional families to join us in our settlement, and as they come in we'll have more laborers available. So I'm just going to slow time down again. There's one very important thing that we have to look at. That'll be water. So we need to construct a well for our people to be able to get drinking water, and here you'll see the underground water availability. So we can go ahead and construct our well either right here next to the houses, which will be closer for them to walk to, but I think it's going to be in the way for expansion later. So I think what we'll do is we'll set up the well right off this main road, and that's also accessible enough according to me. Let's see how our fire or woodcutter's lodge is coming on. Still nothing transported to it yet, because I think they were prioritizing the burgage plots. I would too if I were in their position. So let's speed it up a bit again. You see, we have plenty of food, enough for 16 months at this stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the family from the forager hut, because if you look closely, more in detail at the food, you'll see that we've got 115 berries and nothing else. Oh well, there is 4 small game, so that means our hunters have already started gathering some resources from there as well. We will, however, need to assign a family to the storehouse immediately, because what will happen is, as these hunters hunt, they also gather pelts from the butchered meat, and if that pelts fills up the generic storage of this hunting camp, the hunters will stop hunting, because there will be no more space available for them to store the pelts and the meat. So we'll get people into the storehouse so that they can go and collect those pelts from there. I think another important thing for me to do is just finish this road right here in the middle. There we go. And I believe at the back of these burgage plots we can also put down another little road. And maybe we can just put a bit of curvature into it. And that way we ease up the logistics a bit. Okay, good. It seems like the woodcutter's lodge is done. Also, at the top, a new family has started moving in. So now we have 2 families that is unassigned, and we can immediately assign a family to the woodcutter's lodge, seeing that we are running low on fuel. We also have 15 timber available at this stage, so I'm going to remove the family from the logging camp for now, and I'm going to get them started on the saw pit so that we can turn some of that timber into planks. Right, now very important, not enough supplies. The settlement either needs more food or more fuel. Check the supplies tooltip for more details. Obviously we have got that problem sorted out. As soon as they start gathering some wood for us, for firewood, that problem will be solved. I'm just speeding it up a bit again. Another problem that we might experience is that we've got someone in the granary collecting all the food being produced, and someone in the storehouse collecting all the additional, the tools, the firewood and other resources. What we do not have yet is a market area, so we'll construct that immediately so that the families from these 2 shops can also start collecting or selling their products rather. So we'll do this. I was hoping we could do it right there, but that won't be possible, unfortunately. We don't need a very big market at this stage, and we'll definitely expand on that later. But for now, the 2 stalls will be more than enough. Now, seeing that we have some spare timber available, and we also have room for just 1 other family to move in, I'm gonna build some additional burgage plots right here. We'll also give them a nice backyard. That seems perfect.
Watch your head there.
Speed it up a bit again. Now we'll check on our fuel supply. Firewood is steadily starting to grow. Unfortunately, only enough fuel left for 1 month, but that will be sorted out rather quickly.
Fresh meat.
Also, the saw pit is starting to produce a bunch of planks. What I want to do with this is just set a timber limit for now of 10 timber. So if they go below timber, the timber amount of 10, they will definitely then stop producing any additional planks. Otherwise we'll be running out of timber. So I'm going to remove this family, seeing that they are already below the limit, and we'll add them to the woodcutter's lodge so that we can gather firewood quicker. Once again, we have another family that just joined us. And seeing that there is 2 more burgage plots being constructed, we will be needing some more resources shortly. Fuel is currently still critically low, but seeing that we've got 2 families on this woodcutter's lodge, I can guarantee you that will not be a problem for too much longer. What I want to do now is upgrade the hitching post, and that way we can order another oxen, and that'll help us to speed up the logistics and movement of resources a bit more. You can already see that our fuel went up to 2 months of fuel supply now. If we look at the burgage plots, you will see that most of the requirements have been met. They just need one, and that is church access. So I think that is what we'll focus on next in this episode, to get a church built. And once we've constructed that church, it's a good place to stop for episode 1, and then we can pick up again in the next episode. So let's see what we require in order to build a church. It seems like we do have all the requirements met. 5 timber, 20 planks and 10 rubble stone, which we do have. Just enough rubble stone, basically just enough timber and just enough planks. So we'll get construction going on that church as soon as we order an additional ox. An ox costs us 20 coins, and you can order an ox once a month. A trader is only available again in 30 days. But we do now have 2 oxen. One will definitely still be on the way, and the other one will already be working. You will see that Heinz is gathering. This is the one in the village, busy gathering timber. And then Stefan will currently not show on the map, because he is still being transported to our little village. Alright, so seeing that the game or the deer are starting to reduce a bit, I think I'm gonna remove this family from the hunting camp, and we'll set them up with the berries again. Here's another construction that we can do, or an upgrade. It costs us 25 coins and 2 planks, and that'll allow our forager hut to also grow herbs. So we'll definitely do that. And as you see, we are now basically out of cash. We only have 5 coins left. So in the next episode, we'll definitely have to start considering setting up a trade post so that we can get some trade going and get our economy a bit stronger. So like I said, we need to start on the construction of the church, and a good place for that, I presume, will be right up here on this side or on this side of our little hill. So that way people can access it straight off the main road, right at the top of the hill. So let's go into the construction tab. And now you see that we do not have enough planks, seeing that I added the expansion to our forager hut. So we'll first have to get someone on the saw pit again. We can now remove a family from the woodcutter's lodge, leave one of them going, because our fuel supply have now increased to 5 months. We'll add them to the saw pit immediately, and then also we will add 2 families to the logging camp, because I do not think we have enough timber to be able to manufacture any planks right now. Yes, you see we have 7 timber, and I've set this to a reserve of 10. So I'm going to remove it for now, just to allow that family at the saw pit to create some additional timber. We do not need much. I think we only need 1 additional timber, and then I'll put the reserve on again. So let's speed it up. And as quick as that, you can see that we already have enough timber. Once again, I'll go back to the saw pit and just limit the reserve of timber so that we don't run out of it. I also think that now we will not have enough timber to construct the church. Yeah, actually we need 5 and we only have 4, so it won't take them long to gather that 1 piece of timber anyway. And here at our woodcutters lodge, that family is definitely trucking along and getting some good fuel for us. We are currently sitting at 6 months of fuel supply, which is great. And there we go. We do now have enough timber in stock in our stores in order for us to build a church. Let's see. I think I'm going to place the church. Let's turn the snap to roads off first. And then what I want to do is place the church right here in this corner. I think that looks pretty nice. And once we get the stone removed by adding, let's see, a stone gatherer camp. Once we get the stone removed, there will be a lot more space for us to construct additional burgage plots right over here. So we'll speed it up a bit. Seeing that we only have 1 family on construction at the moment, it might take some time. So I'll remove a family from the logging camp, which means we now have 1 family at the saw pit, 1 family at the logging camp, and 1 family in the woodcutters lodge. So timber and firewood is definitely starting to flow in nicely. We also have 1 family in the storehouse, 1 family in the granary. So we've got people gathering food and supplies. And let's look at our food situation. Once again, we have a lot of berries in stock and not a lot of meat anymore. So I'm gonna put 1 family back on the hunting camp. Seeing that we now have 2 families unassigned that will be finishing this construction of the church, we can also leave the family in the forager hut. So the food situation is taken care of, fuel situation is taken care of, and now we just need to finish the construction of our church. And there we go, guys, the church is constructed, which will mean that all the needs of our level 1 burgage plots have now been reached. And that's pretty good to see. So guys, that is where we will be leaving this episode, and then in the following episode we'll just continue building our economy a bit more. We'll also look into bandit camps and the militia a bit more. You can already see that the militia has now increased from 10 to 18, so we've got a bit of a stronger militia, so we'll definitely need to be getting in some additional weapons and shields so that we can grow our army, so that we can ultimately defeat our rival to the south here. I also see that we have one bandit camp right over there and one pretty close to home, so we'll have to get them taken care of in the next episode. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please stay tuned for more, and if you'd like, you are welcome to subscribe and leave a comment. If there's anything I missed or anything that you would want to add, please leave a comment. I'll go through them and we'll discuss it in further episodes. Until then, keep well. Cheers.